The Gilded Age Season 2 has come to its end, and I actually thought it was a pretty good finale. It was the finale that we all deserved, considering the amount of payoffs that it had with the stories. With the main stories concluding in a way that most certainly seemed like more could be on the horizon if the network chooses to continue it, I thought I'd take a look at everything that was out there, the renewal status, whilst also giving my theories and predictions on what I think could happen next. So let's get into it. Here is the Gilded Age Season 3, Everything We Know. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The release date and the renewal status. If you're a Gilded Age fan, then I bet there's one thing that's on your mind right now. It's when will Season 3 be coming out, and is there going to be one? Well, there's actually some not so good news about that. HBO hasn't actually officially renewed the show yet. When comparing this to the renewal status of Season 2, that was actually announced during the first season of the show in February 2022. And Season 1 finished in March 2022, so it's a surprise that they decided to not follow suit this time round and renew during the second season in order to put the viewers' minds at rest. This could have been done for a number of different reasons. The network might be questioning if there's still an appetite out there for the show, and they may want to give it a bit of time before officially making a decision. When looking at the ratings from the first season to the second, when it comes to watching it live, it actually looks like Season 2 had a slight drop-off when compared to the first. The first season had a low at around 0.4 million and peaked at 0.8 million, whereas Season 2's low was at 0.3 million, and without taking the finale into consideration, it peaked at 0.5 million. So that's something that doesn't really bode well for the future of the show, seeing as though the ratings went in the opposite direction. However, despite the lower ratings, the show did get a very good reception, and many viewers actually preferred Season 2 when compared to the first, so that's something that could go in its favour. The fact that we've not heard anything as of now, it is slightly concerning, but you know what they say, no news can often be good news, so let's just hope that they do decide to give it another chance, because there's a lot of potential there, and there isn't anything like it that's currently out there. If the show does get commissioned, I would predict that when looking at the previous gap between Season 1 and Season 2, and by allowing time for the writing, production, post-production, and marketing, I think we could expect to see the next season in late 2024, or in early 2025, maybe like what it did with Season 1, January through to March. The story. In terms of the story, there are so many different directions that the next season of the show could potentially go in. However, let's delve into some stories that we could potentially see developing. One major plot that we're going to be seeing getting developed will most likely be based around the Van Ryns and the switch in power that will most likely occur. This is due to Ada being the one that has the fortune now, and the one who can essentially make all of the decisions. This is something that has never happened in their lives before, so it'll be interesting seeing how Agnes will handle that. Do I think Ada will turn into the type of person that Agnes is? No, she won't. She cares if she hurts people's feelings. But it might in turn cause Agnes to not be as ruthless in her tone and approach, seeing as though she won't hold all of the power, but one would argue that it's probably too late for her to change. With regards to Oscar, he still doesn't actually know that the family fortune was restored due to Ada coming into money. He wasn't in the final shot of the season, so one can only hope that all is okay with the character, and the guilt of him feeling responsible for believing that they had to change their lives and up and leave because he essentially gave their money away hasn't caused him to do something that he may regret. He may feel like a burden and have decided to just up and leave on a whim, because he didn't want the weight of him being with them upon them needing to change everything. Whilst I don't think that's 100% the case, it is rather interesting that they decided to not have him in the closing moments of the show when all of the family were together receiving the good news. Now, when looking at Marian, I feel we're going to be seeing her thriving in the next season of the show. Without the weight of Dashiell and the marriage that she didn't want to be a part of, I feel we're going to be watching her doing all that she wanted to do and making a mark on the world. We know that she loves teaching, and with two of the schools that Peggy was campaigning for to stay open, not needing to close down, she may end up going to teach at the school in support of her friend, whilst also improving lives. As well as that, there's the blossoming relationship that we'll most likely see being developed between herself and Larry. We saw them finally share a kiss in the season finale, something that I feel we'd all been waiting for and was hoping would happen. So I think we'll actually see them getting to know each other a bit more in a romantic sense, and them doing things that will improve their relationship. We don't know how Bertha is going to respond to the idea of Larry being with Marian. We know that she was fine with her accompanying him in the box at the opening night of the Med, So I feel we'll either see resistance being present or a welcoming arm from a potential future mother-in-law. With regards to the Russells, I think we could potentially see a divide in the family taking place, with Bertha wanting to get the Duke to attend the opening night of the Met, but not being able to buy him with money due to George putting his foot down as he felt they already spent a lot on the Opera House. We ultimately saw her take alternative measures. Whilst it wasn't confirmed, it was heavily hinted at the fact that she essentially gave away her daughter to the Duke and meant that he could marry her, which would result in him being able to have the Russells' wealth, and it would also improve the Russells' status due to being so closely linked to a Duke and him essentially being part of the family. This is something which I think will cause Bertha to be left on her own, as I think George will most likely be fuming with her because he cares so deeply for his daughter. Gladys will most likely resist due to not being interested in the Duke whatsoever, and I also think that Larry will be greatly disappointed in his mother, especially after her interfering ways with Miss Blaine when he cared for her, so it may cause Larry to just do as he pleases with Marian. This could cause upset for their position in society, because if word gets out that the family lacks stability, the likes of Mrs. Fish will be all over that with the gossip. So the Russells are definitely in for an interesting ride. Within reality, the Metropolitan went on to be a huge success, and the Academy slowly faded away, so I wonder if we'll see more of that getting a focus and Mrs. Astor fading into obscurity. Jack's story of him working on the clock is something that I think we'll see also getting developed more in the next season. We saw that Larry wanted to go into business with him, and I think we will eventually see Jack going on to achieve great success, giving us a real journey of success and almost rags to riches, and an inspiring one in the show, something that we've not really seen before. With regards to Peggy, with her leaving the paper and also Mr. Fortune due to her wanting to write a novel that she'd been putting off, I do wonder what she'll get up to in the next season. Obviously, there's the focus on the schools and the campaigning for the black community to have more opportunities in society, which is something that will be valuable to have in the show. But outside of that, I do question what her main arm of the story will be. As you can see, there are so many different directions that the next season of the show can go in. But the one positive is, we know that there is opportunity for the story to be developed, so hopefully we'll get to see that. The cast and the characters. In terms of the characters, I feel there were definitely a few that were written out following the Season 2 finale, but there were many that had new stories set up which most definitely hinted a return for many of them. In terms of the characters that won't be returning, with Forte dying, there's no chance that he's going to be coming back. With Watson also going to live near his daughter and it being mentioned that he'd not be seeing the staff at the Russells again, I think that means that he's been written out and won't be returning. Plus, I would also most likely say that Mr. Fortune won't be coming back either. Peggy said her goodbyes to him and decided to leave the paper, marking an end to the feelings that they had for one another. So I think his chapter came to a close. I would also predict that Dashiell won't be returning either. With his story being backed into a corner and it seemingly coming to a close, I feel that marked the end for him. In terms of the characters that will be returning, with the Russells being at the head of the show, I think the entire Russell family will be coming back. I would also predict that that would mean that the Duke will be too. The Van Ryns will be returning as well, along with Marian. I think we could expect to see Mrs. Winston and her husband, Mrs. Fish, Peggy along with her mother and father, plus all of the workers for both the Russell and the Van Ryns. I would imagine that we'd most likely be introduced to a number of new characters as well, seeing as though time would have progressed forward and there would be more history for the show to delve into. Unfortunately for now, that's all that's known about the Gilded Age Season 3. I'm sure more information will be released as time goes on. We've just got to hope that the news of the renewal isn't far away and that it gets the green light that it deserves. So, there you have it, the Gilded Age Season 3, Everything We Know.